Gemini. You're taking notes.
Yeah. So hi.
Hi.
People in the community don't know you yet. Maybe some of them might. But I mean, because you've spoken on a couple of the calls before.
Yeah.
So by way of introduction, how do you like to introduce yourself?
I don't know. I don't do very much of that.
Well, I will call you.
I'm Michael Fischer, or Mike. I'm a professor emeritus at MIT. I'm an anthropologist. I have been teaching in the Science, Technology, and Society program at MIT, also in anthropology. I also teach at the Harvard Medical School in the Department of Global Health and Social Medicine. I've been working in Singapore most recently. I've done field work. My major field work was in Iran a long time ago for many years. I've done field work in Jamaica, in India. I'm kind of a generalist.
So AI is not necessarily new for you in a way, right?
No, because I'm at MIT and I've been teaching with computer scientists, and we've been sort of following the developments. I've been teaching a class called together with Hal Abelson, a computer scientist, and Danny Weisner, who's a civil rights lawyer, it used to be called Law and Ethics on the Electronic Frontier, and then we decided that digital stuff was no longer a frontier, and the law and digital development needed to come under standard legal cases. So one of the things the course has been doing we've been teaching that since 1994, has been watching all the cases that have come up, trying to define how the law can be used. And that's getting more complicated with this new generation of so-called AI. The computer scientists like to say that AI itself is nothing new, that everything has been AI anyhow. But clearly generative AI and other new techniques, machine learning and then generative AI, are transforming things quite significantly.
And is there, there's a lot to learn now. Is there things in particular that you're interested in with regard to AI?
That's hard to answer. As I say, I'm a generalist, so I'm interested in how the media in general and digital media in particular are transforming the way we think, the way we write, the way we process information, the way the public arena is being changed, the way people's attention is being colonized or directed or what have you.
And I know you're someone that pays a lot of attention to language.
Yeah.
Have you been able to pick up AI speak, things that sound like AI? Are you hearing it?
That's an interesting question, and I haven't done that. I did write an article a long time ago about computer speak, as it were. But no, I haven't paid particular attention to that. I've just been watching it develop as a everyday technology. I mean, I guess I have been paying attention because I have been dealing with computer scientists. I sort of react a little bit when people use AI promiscuously. I mean, using the term AI promiscuously.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes a difference if you're talking about machine learning or if you're talking about other techniques. And if somebody's talking about it and they're theorizing its general effects on the population, I'd like to know which technologies they're actually using. So to the degree that I can understand all of the new developments, which is hard to keep up with, and I'm grateful to you for having encouraged me to play around with Claude and these other chat um, uh, offerings, I guess. um, I've I've been learning more by actually playing with it. So yeah.
So there's a lot of people in the community that do a lot of different things, from writing to business to philanthropy to activism. Are there any particular folks you would like to get to know, or types of conversations you want to follow up on or learn more about?
I don't know how to answer that kind of question. It's too general. The answer is yes. I mean, time's limited also. So, I mean, one of the frustrations of your wonderful community that you've been setting up is that, I watch the flow of communications and I dip into them every so often, but keeping up with them all and following them out would be a full-time job.
Yeah. How could I do a better job of getting people to engage when I want to share more and more and more?
So a lot of the stream, this is not a complaint, this is just how people use things, are things that are minimalist. I do this, my daughter did that. The most recent thing I saw was, which interested me because I work in Singapore, was my daughter's going to, school in Singapore. Okay, well, that's interesting. Now I could follow that up and delve into that. But there are thousands of messages, so have to pick and choose. So I don't know um, how you constrain those to be of more interest. I suppose eventually people, I'm just guessing, eventually people will hive off and create their own sort of sub communities within the larger community and follow up that way.
What would make it more appealing for you?
I don't know. That's not um, that's not really top of mind concern at the moment.
But it's my concern. I want you to be as involved as you want to be.
No, I understand that, and that's fine. I mean, I'm trying to write several things at the moment, so most of my free time goes into thinking about that. Often with the help of Claude. And so on, and you're always in my mind when I do that. But to answer your question more directly, I mean, it would be, I would be turning my attention to something specific and following up.
Yeah. Has there been anything in particular that, I mean, you made a comment about languages, which totally was right. I just don't know people that are doing things in other languages.
Yeah, I mean, that was, you kind of gently castigated me for that comment.
I didn't mean to.
That was just a reflex act, since I, do pay attention to other languages, and I'm frustrated, for instance, by television news on American broadcasts, which are totally self-involved, and you barely get even much about Europe, much less the rest of the world. So it was just actually, there's a serious point in my question, which was not just to make point out um, the English-centric focus of the community, which is fair enough. But just to say that there are other ways of thinking about things from other points of view, and it would be nice to have people reflect on that. So that would be fun. Actually, that would be something that if people wanted to engage, I would engage with as much as I could. And again, that is a matter of how much language people have, but even more that people would be interested in sharing. Just the last comment is, Iranians in particular say, well, you can't really know about Iranian culture unless you know our poetry. And that's an interesting statement by itself. It's, of course, a statement that Germans will make, that Frenchmen will make. So all these different communities have a cultural feel for their own perspectives on life that would be really interesting to share. That's one of the things I'm interested in. But it's difficult in a big forum to actually do that.
Yeah. So I guess there's a specific and a general. The specific is in this community, there are 20 countries represented.
Yeah.
There's a lot of South Asia, there's some Latin America, and there's a lot of Europe. There's not much China. There's not much. I wish there was more in different places. So
Right.
people do. I'm probably the only monolingual person in the whole group, to be honest with you. I speak a little Spanish. What would you like? How do I get the texture of those languages?
Well, I don't know. One way would just be to put in a couple of posts periodically and say, what does this look like from India? What does this look like from Hong Kong? So Hong Kong's interesting. You don't have many China people in the list, maybe, but Hong Kong is an English-speaking place, just like Singapore is. So, yeah, we have 20 countries. We have, I think the phrase you used to me before was 12 languages.
Yeah.
I don't see that reflected in the commentary. People aren't self-reflective about those different perspectives that are reflected. For instance, in grammar, well, we would not think about this way. In English, you do this, but in German, you do it this way, or in Chinese, you do it that way. That might be interesting. It also might be interesting in people are beginning to speculate in the question of whether or not those languages will come into AI or whether or not English will just remain hegemonic. So there are a lot of directions in which that can go. India, for instance, you just mentioned, but of course English is the kind of working national language in India as well.
Yeah. So that's the specific piece. The general piece is, I mean, I like reading poetry in different languages, even though I can't
Right.
languages authentically. I mean, I've never read Rilke in his original, but I think, was it Stephen Mitchell? I'm not sure if that's the translator, but there's people that translate him well, and I am
Right.
moved by the poetry. So I'm always at odds when people tell me, well, unless you speak the language, you can't really appreciate the poetry. I'm like, well, why can't I read 5 different translations and then get it? I'm like, what?
Yeah, no, I mean, you get an approximation.
Yeah.
And every translation itself, as the sayings go, is treason, right? So reading different translations begins to give you a sense of what the dilemmas are in translating. Depends on what you read poetry for. I read a lot of stuff in translation because it's quicker that way. The point was not that you can't understand these other cultures if you don't speak the language. The point was that when people think about the language that they use, and they think about their philosophies, they all often reflect back on how they say things. And how they say things is different in different contexts, different cultural contexts, and has certain kinds of implications.
So, I mean, compared to your body of work, I'm just kind of a dilettante on it, but I'll just tell you something I think, which is language to me feels like a lot like song, and like
Yep.
song in different culture. So how people pronounce and how they inflect and how they say things, it feels very much like understanding the rhythm and music of those societies.
Yeah, that's an important part of it.
So like even the intonation, like, you know, most of my friends are South Asian now, just because my wife is South Asian and I
Right.
spend my time in those communities. And I can pick up the tonality, and I can pick up the head motions and things. You know, it's really different. And I don't speak the language, but I feel like I can capture like the tone and the nonverbals I've learned.
Right. Right. That's right. I mean, a lot of us do that who are, I'm not exactly monolingual, but I'm, pretty monolingual.
So I know this sounds sci-fi-ish, but there's a lot of new developments where people are able to sit with each other and have a device and think stuff, and the person that's thinking the stuff can transmit the thought to the person that's receiving it without using language. And that's real. I mean, it's happening now.
Well, yes and no. That's pretty out there technological development, and what can be transferred is fairly restrictive at the moment. I mean, the stuff begins with the stuff about people with various kinds of spinal injuries and whatnot. Can they use thought to move their arms, to pick up a cup, and so on? And then it's gotten a little bit better than that. But I think if you go back and look more carefully at what you're thinking about, it's still pretty much aspirational rather than provable, verifiable.
One of the things I think about with AI is just the word yet.
What about yet?
Whatever.
Yeah. It's all future oriented. Yeah.
10 years away, fine. 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. It's here. It's going to happen. So the question is, if you don't use language, you use thought, but language is much more than language, because it is a way of organizing unconscious stuff and parsing it in ways that other people can understand it. So what does that mean that we don't use language?
We do use language.
Right.
And we use language, and it's not always verbal language. So it's also intonation. It's all these things that you mentioned. Those are all communicative, including facial expression. So one of the reasons we enjoy, being on Zoom face to face or FaceTime or whatever is that we're picking up bodily expressions, right? That are also communications. It's also a form of language, if you like.
I like. But, there's a lot of things that you're up to, and there's two things in particular. Wondering if you could share those with me that we talked about earlier today.
Oh, that we talked about. Yeah. These are both efforts that my wife and I have been trying to do as part of our efforts to help things along, that we're interested in the two arenas of maybe culture and maybe humanitarianism. One of them is more directly philanthropic, I suppose, although we have gotten into it by becoming a good friend who of a young woman who we have introduced to you as well, who since she's not here, I don't know how much information I should put on here, but the simple and powerful story is that this is a young woman whose family was killed in the Congo, and she was taken by family connections to a refugee camp in Uganda. And the story is very interesting. She was doubly vulnerable, not only as a victim of civil war, but she's also albino, and that's not a good thing in Africa. Her grandmother actually ordered her to be killed as a baby. Her mother prevented that. But she grew up in this refugee camp, and she understood that she needed to get out. And in a very interesting set of stories, she eventually made it to the United States, was adopted by several families here, and was eventually given a full ride fellowship to go to Wellesley College, graduated from there about a year and a half ago, and has dedicated herself to rescuing other girls from that same refugee camp, and has set up a safe home for them in the capital in Kampala, and has enrolled them in a school to give them the education that they can't get in the refugee camp. So we help support that, and she is going around the country at this point raising money to help that endeavor expand. And one of the things that she's experimenting with in raising money is having house parties and introducing people to the project. And we're thinking about trying to do that for her in the Boston area. We tried once before. We didn't, it was, the timing was wrong. It didn't really work very well. But we're thinking about doing it again and finding some interested people that she could talk to. So that's one project.
Before we go to the second project, I think the challenge isn't that people don't care. I think the challenge is that people care a lot about a lot. And
right.
to try to have a new thing to care about requires processing and connecting to that thing. So what is it about this particular person? You know a lot of people, you see a lot of people, you travel the whole world. What is it about this particular person that stuck? Why did you decide to?
Well, she's a fascinating person. If you meet her, you don't recognize immediately some of her disability. So it turns out that albinos often have poor vision. So the fact that she made it through college education and so on, and she's got various devices and so on, makes the fact that when you talk to her, it's like talking to any spectacularly intelligent, interesting person. And her commitment is also attractive. And her whole story is attractive. I mean, she is writing a memoir of her life, and that will probably attract a fair amount of attention. I mean, I think one can get interested, and I think people do get interested through personal contact. And I think she is one of these people who attracts support because of who she is. And I mean, I suppose that there are a lot of people like this out in the world of various sorts, and you can't support them all. But she's so well planned. I mean, we have visited her in Kampala. We've actually helped her set up this house. So we're involved in a personal kind of way. And I think other people would be too. People who have maybe a connection to Africa, maybe a connection to women's rights. There are all sorts of connections that one could make.
I was moved by her. I'm going to share her TED Talk too, so we can talk.
Okay,
she talked about her story publicly. So let's talk about her story publicly because we're both her fans.
Right.
We can name her. We can talk all about it.
That's right.
She's a poet, and she speaks about the way and what and how and the reason why in ways that are they connect with me very deeply. And I want to spend my time helping people who know how to communicate their experiences in powerful ways. And those experiences are real and meaningful. So she got me immediately.
Good.
Immediately.
So Shanti, yeah.
Exactly. She's in the community too. So I'm going to tag her.
Yeah.
And we're speaking about it because we both want the best for her. It's like,
exactly.
She's great. The second thing.
Oh, the other project. So the other project has also got a number of dimensions to it. So there's a 12th century mystical poem that called The Conference of the Birds that many people may have heard of, partly because it has now been performed there's a text, of course, a Persian language poem. There are many translations in English and other languages. There have also been many dramatic productions, including there's a kind of opera. Peter Brooks did a performance a number of years ago. If you look up the Conference of the Birds in Wikipedia, you'll see that there are a number of prominent choreographers who have produced this as a dance form. One of those actually listed in Wikipedia is a woman named Wendy Jalen. She is a choreographer who is based in Somerville here in Massachusetts. I saw a production that I thought was absolutely stunning in Boston. She's done these performances many places around the world. It's a pure dance performance. There's no words. It's not an effort to translate directly. The troupe that she gathers together to do this, and it's different for different performances, are international dancers. As an anthropologist, that too attracted me. How do you put together people who have been trained in Indonesian dance and Indian dance and African dance and make a coherent dance out of this? And she does this beautifully, partly through workshops that we've participated in. So to cut to the chase, as it were, among the things that she does in order to keep going is constantly raise money and write grants and so on. And she has an offer from the Luce Foundation, a significant amount of money in terms of this sort of thing, if she can find venues to actually produce it in various places. So I've been helping her connect with Middle East centers around the country in different universities. We have a commitment from NYU, and we have actually a performance date next spring for that. We also, together with Purnima and you, we are supporters of Global Arts Live. And they have now finally, after years, committed to helping stage this and as well. So that'll be next year sometime. And we're looking for other venues. So the venues that we are in conversation with are Princeton, which is where she originally devised the dance drama. That's proving, well, we'll see how that goes. We're also in conversation with Irvine, University of California, Irvine. We're in conversation, very interestingly, in Chicago with the Museum of Contemporary Arts. So there are all of these things. I've been learning a lot about how artists have to struggle to find venues, do logistics, arrange schedules of people who are distributed around the world, and so on and so forth. So this is more of a general question because I think this is going to be a going concern. But at the moment, we've only got a couple of confirmed venues, and it would be nice to secure some more. So if people in the group have connections to places that can support dance, that is a performance space, as well as perhaps some financial support, as well as connections with groups that can publicize and put on this kind of performance, that would be helpful. We're looking for more and more places.
Is there a link for that, or for that dance, or is it more just a?
Yes, I mean, there is a website which I can send you. I mean,
Yeah,
I don't have it off the top of my head.
Sure. Two more questions, quick ones. Is there anything that you're kind of reading or watching that you think is non-obvious and interesting?
Yeah, lots of stuff. I mean, what's the what are you asking really?
Like things that are not in the New York Times or the New Yorker that people should check out.
So I'm involved in a couple of writing projects at the moment, one of which is beginning to involve feminist novelists around the world, particularly starting with Austrian post-World War II novelists who have become famous and who attempt, this is back to language, attempt to use, to probe ordinary language. They're angry. If people know anything about post-war Austrian writing, it's often very anti-state, anti-capitalist, pro-feminist, and the effort is to take language and to play it back to people in a form that they don't recognize, to get them to understand how ideologically infused ordinary language is, with patriarchy, with fascism, with anti-Semitism in this case. Austria is often said to be a place that has refused to deal with its past, unlike Germany. Japan's another such place. So these people have become prominent, one of whom, there are three authors that I've been trying to read and follow, one of whom is a Nobel Prize winner. Jelinek is her name. I like her later stuff much better than her earlier stuff. But at a certain point, I had a trigger, as it were, that said, you know, some of the plots of these novels are just like the ones that Iranian women write about, that an Indonesian woman has written about, that, and a Singaporean. These are novels that I've written about in other contexts. And wouldn't it be interesting to try to write a Conference of the Birds based on these women authors from different places? So, I mean, those are non-obvious in the sense that most people don't read foreign novels, if they read novels at all. I mean, you know, but that's one thing. I'm constantly looking for commentators on the conflicts in the world that are indicators of, so I have an intuition, I'm not the only one, obviously, that we're entering a new world order, that the way the political economy, the global political economy has been functioning the last half century is going to be transformed, partly by AI, but by many other things as well. So I'm constantly looking for writing that is insightful. So The magazine Caravan, for instance, in India is a place that I go to periodically. There's an Australian military analyst who's very good on Ukraine and on thinking about how the nature of warfare is changing. It's all scattered, but there's a, I look for the non-obvious and the non-repetitive and the non-cliched and whatever, like we all do.
And my last question is, what would you like people to share with you if they put things in the group, if they want to tag you or just send it along your way? That would be interesting.
Well, that's one of the problems of formulating that is how to formulate it so that it's not too general. I mean, I'm very interested at the moment in dramatic forms in writing that deal with the larger social transformations that we're going through at the moment. So theater, particularly experimental theater, that's true also of some film. I'm also involved in a couple of film projects trying to help them. Cultural forms that are not just the classical ones that, ordinary people like to hear again and again and again. Things that spark your intellectual. So that's what's interesting about these Austrian writers as well, even if I don't like, the gloom and doom of some of what they write about. But they are attentive to language in novel ways. So things that spark philosophical speculation and often things that have a technological edge to them. So AI fits into that beautifully. To what degree, for instance, one of the things that I started thinking about, and that I still think about, although I haven't found enough artists to think with, but what started globally at the time of the pandemic of how do you do theater when you can't have an audience in an auditorium? And so that was a big push to experimenting with digital media that you could use in a distributed form. There's an opera producer and lyricist here in Boston, originally from Singapore, who posed herself the problem of how she could put an opera together during the pandemic with singers in different cities and have it sync, because music requires it, to work with precision. And she found ways to do that. I mean, she started talking about, game engines as a way to cross those media boundaries. So things like that interest me a lot.
I really like rap and hip hop a lot.
Uh-huh.
And there's a video from Jay-Z talking to the New York Times about his double, triple, quadruple entendres in his rap.
Oh, uh-huh.
And I'm gonna put that into the group, and I'm gonna tag you.
Great.
That man uses language. I just love the puns and the intensity. I mean, I love rap, but I just love rap lyricists. That's my sweet spot.
Okay, great.
So this has been wonderful. It'll take a few hours for the video to make itself useful.
Okay.
And just send me the dance link now, please.
Oh, right, the dance link, the Wendy.
And I will share this with the group. And I'll put this on LinkedIn as well.
Sorry, the last thing you said?
And on LinkedIn as well.
Oh, okay. All right.
Have a great day. We'll hopefully see you real soon.
Hopefully, yeah. It'd be good to see you again.
I like that. Talk to you soon.
Okay. Bye-bye.